Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Weekend Big Show here, powered by Law Dog Sports. I'm Chuck Ramsey, the Law Dog, joining you here on a Thursday evening. High school football kind of throwing off our regular former Friday morning pattern, but we like to try to go in the evenings if we can, also for the fact that a few more of you are available than some are at work on a Friday morning at 9 a.m. At least you should be, you bums. Anyways, we're streaming live on YouTube tonight. Little change up as to get away from the Zuckerberg effect and try to be able to monitor our audience a little better. But Jeremy Schroeder, ruler of the airways, joining me here as he always does. Jeremy, we've got so much on tap tonight, and it's just a huge weekend of football. They put out earlier today that it's 56 more days of consecutive football. No day without football for 56 days.
This is truly the greatest time of the year.
It's the most
every night.
time.
Tuesday night Maction is back. Man, this is so great, you know. Yeah. And we're gonna have NFL games played on Wednesdays and Fridays coming up. Yeah. It's just there are no rules anymore. It's
tremendous. Great. Well, I tell you, it's so much activity this week in the world of college football, and it's really kind of what floats our boat here on this podcast. And I hearken back to the days when you and I used to take to the airwaves in the Texoma region, originating out of Seymour at AM 1230 KSEY Sports Talk 1230. And we had a lot of help back in those days, Jeremy, to really help us get going and have some credibility to our show. And that gentleman who helped us with that's joining us tonight. Let's bring in Cory Hogue from Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and just an amazing job he's doing down there for Dave Campbell. And Cory Hogue, thanks for taking some time to visit with us. I know you keep a busy schedule between high school, college, D1, D2, D3, and even some NAIA. Dave Campbell's Texas Football probably very happy that they extended you the contract offer some 2-3 years ago. How have you been, my friend?
Well, first off, be careful what you say about me, because goodness, man, we all know the truth. You were here from the beginning, right?
Oh no, I mean we had
He's trying to Roy Firestone you.
I bring down credibility real quick.
I played tonight out in my mind of when I would get choked up. That's no lie. But no, you jumped in with us. I think after the pandemic. Sorry, I didn't mean to go.
Whoa.
After the shutdown, you jumped in with us, and it was a great time to get you on because honestly, a lot of people were throwing out podcasts during that time when they had spare time on their hands. But man, we used to use you, I think 2 to 3 times a week for the show, and then you and I would do a high school football recap on Saturday mornings, and then I imagine you're still hooked up with the West Texas Friday night scoreboard show out of Floydada. They're great guys. You're a busy man.
Well, I've slowed down this year some. Of course, there's really no slowing my pace. Basically, I just put more time into the 35 schools that I cover for Dave Campbell's, right?
Yeah.
So I do for high school. I'm no longer traveling on high school. They cut all the freelance budget at the Times Record News, of course. And so I've been doing color and keeping stats for the YouTube broadcast there with WFISD. And that's been a lot of fun doing that with Jonathan Hull there from Times Record News. Yeah. And I cut the Cowboys coverage, and God, did I do that at the right time or what?
Oh, you did.
Wow.
Hey, they're all in, Cory.
Yeah, they look all in. I'll tell you that.
That was the one thing about when Cory would be on the show with us and we would start talking Cowboys is, I just for the sake of our listenership down there in Seymour, I would try to throw out some optimism, and Cory would be like, no.
Oh, real quick, guys. Mayfield to Shepard, touchdown Buccaneers.
Gracious. Sterling Shepard?
Sterling Shepard.
So he's healthy now, huh?
He is healthy.
Well, no change so far in the UTEP Sam Houston State score as I see it. Still 7-0 Bearcats with a K. And that's something. One reason I reached out to you, Cory, is not just because we missed you, but also there is so much realignment talk and realignment actually going on this week. And I figured it would be a great time to get you on because when these conferences realign or different things happen, I mean, there's a new Pac-12, there's going to be a new Mountain West. Man, UTEP just cannot get out of their own way.
Big Ten and SEC getting together and trying to hammer out a deal to get themselves four auto
Premier
bids
League
each year. Yeah.
Who didn't see that coming?
We've been talking about it for a year now.
Yeah.
Let's just do it.
Yeah. Dan Narva from in Michigan checking in. Good evening, Unholies. That reference to the Unholy Triumvirate that this trio used to consist of, and it looks like, oh man, El Paso just barely missed out on safety. I won't give a play-by-play, but let's see. Dollars Inc. Good to see you, Chuck. You don't look a day old, brother. Well, thank you. Have to see who you are later.
That's Cash Johnson.
Oh, is that Cash?
Yep.
Cash Money. What's up, buddy? So Cory, just to start with, I think I try to look at the big picture and say, while there is, some call it upheaval, some call it, last ditch efforts, whatever. There's a trickle down effect when schools like Texas and Oklahoma leave for the SEC, and then the Big 12 fills up, and then the Pac-12 goes away, and then they pull in. I mean, it's going to benefit some of these some FCS and some group of five, I guess you could say, schools.
It'll give them an opportunity, some of them, and it'll just continue to trickle on down. We've been waiting for this most recent round of realignment with the Pac-12 and stuff to come down since, they got obliterated and put UCLA and the Big Ten or whatever that crap is out there. So you knew it was coming. And of course, look, they're going to go down to the group of five to pull their teams, right? They're going to go Mountain West. They're going to go some of those Sun Belt conferences things. And then those conferences are going to backfill. And eventually it gets down to the FCS. Then it heads back down. Those FCS conferences do that. Then it gets to D2. It'll a lot of times stop there, and poor D2 ends up getting really screwed in the whole deal.
Yeah. Well, and we're watching a Sam Houston school that you said you cover really closely, playing UTEP for the first time as an FBS. And obviously, it's a close game, but they seem to be really dominating the UTEP offense. But I mean, they're a really tradition-rich program that now gets the opportunity to perform on the bigger stage.
2021, that spring season, I covered them in a national championship game in Frisco. In May, we had a weather delay for a tornado warning.
I remember that.
And it was just
the nice blazer with Shahan.
Yeah, that's where I ended up. A lot of things in life changed after that because we had to wear a mask back then, and
sure,
that didn't work out real well in some people's opinions. So
yeah.
Anyway, I went incognito on a lot of non-public social media channels.
I can imagine.
Well, but anyway, they win FBS, and it was a question at first, like, should they go? They've been dominant FCS. They were national title. And they made that jump. They said, now's the time. And boy, were they right. You look, last year, they didn't start off well. They didn't have any clue what was coming. They didn't have a clue of the depth they needed. None of that. And then Casey Keeler is such a fantastic coach. And he hates losing with such a passion that last season they lost 8 straight to open it. And then they won 4 to finish. And he said, look, I knew I didn't lose the guys, but we had to change things. And he changed the roster. They changed the strength and conditioning program. And they put names on the back of jerseys. That's a big thing in Sam Houston. That just happened this year. So when you've got those things happening, they're becoming a big time program. And it is surprising a lot of people. It is surprising me. It's not surprising anyone really inside that football program. And that's what amazes me. They were telling me before the year on March to the Pod how good they were going to be. And I was like, yeah, we'll see. You got to prove it, right? I saw last year.
So how long are they going to hang around the Conference USA before they get poached by the American or the Mountain West?
They've already been in discussions with the Mountain West.
Yeah.
I think
what's the pecking order? It's like Conference USA is down here, then American, then Mountain West.
There's a
the Pac-2.
There's kind of a hierarchy with it. But the thing is with that, the CUSA, I think they've got some sort of a multimedia agreement that makes it more expensive for them to jump. But listen, those fees they talk about, $2 million, $5 million, at these levels, that's pocket change anymore for a lot of these
are we going to see a Pac-12 that's going to get auto bids into the playoffs that have teams like Tulsa, UTEP, and Sam Houston in the next 10 years?
Hey, you never know.
Well, so far, I'll give the Pac-12 credit for at least, being somewhat regional. I mean, like Jeremy mentioned off the air, Miami may be passing down past my place here on I-40 on their way to Cal, trying to get there by tomorrow.
There was 1,700 miles into their trip, and they're only halfway there. It's insanity.
And then, this game between
and this is conference.
Yeah, it's a conference game. This game between UTEP and Sam Houston, the distance from El Paso to Huntsville is only a little bit further than Texas to Tuscaloosa. So, but I'll tell you this, Cory, I'm all in on the Fun Belt, baby. I want to see the Fun Belt.
Listen, these teams, they get on private jets, and these D1 guys, man, that travel ain't nothing but 4 or 5 hours on a plane to them.
Yeah. It is a smaller world. I get what you say, but I mean, when you're talking about for the
man, come on, Cal and Miami being in the
Berkeley to Miami,
it's ridiculous.
Silly. How about Berkeley to Blacksburg?
Or we talked about the potential of a 9 a.m. home game for UCLA, USC, or Washington or Oregon being in the Big Ten. They get big noon kickoff at home. Yeah. That's 9 a.m. on the West Coast, brother.
Yeah. Well, I tell you guys, one team that is making the most of their move up, and that's the Southern Methodist Mustangs. I mean, they are probably
in ponies.
They're probably in the running for this conference, and I wouldn't put anything past them, and they don't even get any money from it for a while.
Pete Alonso, home run, and Brewers fans are quiet because it's 3-2 in the top of the ninth. Mets.
Hey, Cory, because Dan Narva is a super fan, we don't talk AL Central or NL Central on this podcast.
I don't really
care.
He
is our AL Central
I'm married
expert,
into the New York Mets.
Dan Narva is our Maction and our AL Central guy as the Detroit Tigers did the baseball fan world a solid by eliminating the Astros this week.
Hey, do you want to hear a statistic?
Yeah, give it.
The Texas Rangers have won 4 postseason games in the Astros stadium since the Astros last won a game in their own stadium. Postseason games.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And I thought about reaching out to John Moore this week, but he probably needs some time to decompress after the season. I mean,
that's a long season.
It's a long season, and I'll probably reach out to him and try to get some hot stove stuff going on with him. But John Moore from the what is it this week, Jeremy? Texas Rangers baseball podcast
this week?
Hang on. Let me effort that for you. Yeah. I don't want to get the wrong
like
energy.
I just did.
Yeah, it's man, where'd it go? I had it all pulled up here, and then you made me do this.
That's all right.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, so baseball going on, and the divisional playoffs are really a lot of fun because you get 2 and 3 games a day. And, it is a good time. And it's probably the closest baseball comes, other than opening day, probably the closest they come to like a March Madness situation, if you think about it.
Yeah. No, it is. This is the fun time, playoff time, especially when they're outside in like New York and you see they're freezing and I'm not.
Yeah.
So fun.
And, I mentioned Dan Narva. He's a huge Tigers fan, and he's got a team now with a series victory. So nice going Tigers. And plus,
that they had the coach
DLLS.
come on now, right? Like that's just so. We have AJ Hinch coaching the Tigers over the Astros.
Yeah, I mean everything that goes around comes around in baseball. I don't
know if you remember this, but AJ Hinch was involved in some shenanigans when he was with the Astros. I wonder if he was doing that when he was playing against me at Midwest City.
Former Carl Albert Titan, the bane of Jeremy Schroeder.
No. Midwest City Bomber. He was in Midwest City, sir. Yeah.
I thought he was Carl Albert. My bad.
No. He's Midwest City.
Okay. Well, they're all Middale. Who cares? But anyways, yeah. So, and I guess some of the questions I have, Cory, are like, Sam Houston, and then now, the old Southland Conference. I mean, you cover all that for Dave Campbell's Texas football, but it affects so many. All of this change affects so many schools, like Abilene Christian, Tarleton State. That's the name. That's one of the big names I heard tossed around this week. Is like they're probably one of those programs that are on the cusp of making some sort of big move.
I wrote a piece yesterday for TexasFootball.com that talked about how they are ready to move and be successful in FBS. Tarleton's no joke. It's not that tiny little, community known for their Cowboys anymore. They still win the national titles in rodeo.
Yeah.
But they are for real. They've got so much construction going on. They're building 18,000 students at a time when everyone's having a struggle with enrollment. They're getting 3,500 new students a year. Like, it's just crazy. They're by far the best. But Abilene Christian, they pop up in conversations. They're popping up again right now, especially if you consider if Tarleton leaves. Now, Abilene Christian is the only Texas team left in the WAC/ASUN football alliance known as the United Athletic Conference. So why would ACU stick around? So would they go Southland? They kind of see that as a down, although let me tell you, the Southland quality of competition there is definitely better than it was 3 or 4 years ago. But they also are one that you should look at and listen for going up for Conference USA. They've got pretty much everything they need. They've got a lot of infrastructure. They just redid their Coliseum. They've got a wonderful football facility where I'll be on Saturday. Where they're hosting a top ranked team. They've got a football team now that's top 25 in the FCS.
Abilene Christian, Tarleton or Abilene? Abilene
Christian. Yeah. Tarleton too. Tarleton's top 25.
Yeah.
They're both top 25 teams. And 5 years ago Tarleton was in D2, and 10 years ago Abilene Christian was D2. And they could both be FBS here within the next year or two.
Didn't Art Browse have Stephenville in D2 there for a minute?
Stop. That's a name.
Did we just have a CAB reference?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
That's a name I don't mention.
I forget who's the team in Nacogdoches, Cory?
Stephen F. Austin.
Stephen F. Austin. What's their outline?
Well, they could. I don't know that they have really a desire right now. They joined the University of Texas system, and Texas just doesn't share the money like A&M and Texas State system does. UT and the Texas Tech system don't share as well.
No puff money, huh? Teams. Well, that's not fun.
No puff.
I know, right? But SFA, I got a cool story coming out next week that you guys would find interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Them and Northwestern State have a rivalry. They used to have that Chief Cato, right? 7'6" trophy, largest traveling trophy in college football. Well, they had to retire it because Chief Cato offended people.
Deemed politically incorrect.
Sure.
So last year there was like nothing. They didn't have a trophy. So SFA was like, all right, fine. We'll bring this big log of pine with us, and we'll set it on the field. If we win, we'll take it with us, and if we lose, we'll leave it here. Well, that log has now been turned into a trophy, a 7'6", exact same size as Chief Cato, a 7'6" trophy that is being carved by the Chainsaw Chick.
Oh, okay.
And I have spoken to the chainsaw chick, and let me tell you, that woman is incredible. The work that she does. She's done a J.J. Watt. She's done a Peyton Manning. Like, and they're lifelike. They are really good. So
How
yeah,
to
this is
scale
going to
was
be a
that
fun
forehead
story.
on Manning?
How's the forehead?
Maybe she could redo some of those Heisman Park statues there at Norman, Jeremy.
She probably
maybe
had to glue on some extra wood for the forehead for Peyton.
You could probably go redo the Bradford one. I think the rest of them are okay.
Steve Anderson checking in on YouTube Live says more oil money in the Stephenville area than people think. Yeah, pipeline too, if I'm not mistaken as well.
Well, guys, here's the thing about when it comes to that. And this is something I didn't even realize I was doing research here recently. And they are when they're the founding member of the Texas A&M system. Back in 1917, they raised $100,000 roughly back then. So you can imagine what that would be worth today. And they gave that, and they gave some other land that was going to be used, that's been used as part of like the rodeo part of the school and stuff, and the campus to Texas A&M. They gave all of that to be a part of the system. So they are fully supported by Texas A&M. And they have, like you said, remember that land they gave them, those oil rights and stuff, that oil money, all that money goes into the Texas A&M system.
Well, is it are you talking about the Puff Fund?
Well, yes, part of that is the Puff Fund. Part of that's they turned some of the land they got into that, I'm sure, too, right? Like
I remember Ryan Hyatt telling us that Puff money was like 66-33 UT to A&M, and then Tech fans obviously not quite big fans of all that going on, but
they changed that a couple years ago. The legislature changed the Puff Fund to where I think UT-A&M get all the system schools are supposed to get close to the same amount. At least Texas Tech is getting some now.
Oh, well, that takes away half of my Twitter.
Yeah, you can stop.
Crap.
Oh my gosh.
I can't
angry old man
for Puff
tweeting out injuries here.
They still got all those Lamborghinis there on visiting.
Oh yeah, which I compared to. Well, I won't go there. Yeah. Just keep them away from
Sooners of the 80s with Switzer.
Keep them away from Athens, Georgia. That's my only contention with Lamborghini.
Texas got to keep that Puff Fund high because they're still paying old coaches.
Well,
Tom Herman.
They got about 4 of them.
Hey, and Cory, by the way, I mean, both of you guys used to gig me hard, but you have to say Texas is back, right?
Yeah,
I can't
Texas
say
is
that
back.
yet.
You can say it. They're back.
I can't say that yet.
The AP voted them number 1 for a week, Cory. They're back.
That's back.
Now it's only going to be for like 3 or 4 years.
No.
Come on,
let's define.
Cory.
Maybe your version of back is different from mine.
No, my version of back
they
is
got to be in the playoffs
success.
Again.
So do they got to reel off like a Bama three-peat or something? I mean,
they got to do something they've never done in the history of their program for them to be back for you?
No. What they need to do is listen, Bama's not always at the top, right? But they're in the top 4 or 6.
Sure.
They're in that conversation. That's where Texas needs to be. They've been there 1 year.
I don't see them dropping this year. That would be 2 years in a row. And according to a manager from Major League, that's called a streak.
It is called a streak.
We're visiting with Cory Hogue.
That's when I will start to consider it. But until then,
look, Sark has it rolling, and I am no one to compliment UT Austin. But Sark has done just a fantastic job. Probably the best.
Go ahead.
The only game I've watched. The only game I watched this year, I watched the Michigan game. I was able to catch most of that. And I put it in our Slack channel at work. I said, guys, this Texas team, and I don't say this lightly, it reminds me of that Vince Young team that rolled 2 national titles back in the day. They have that kind of attitude about them, that kind of arrogance. They beat teams that way, right? Like the great Oklahoma teams that I hated so much because they beat teams that way, right? Like that's how they beat Texas, like a dang pup over and over again, right? So like that's the attitude they have. But they still have to keep going. They're not back until they get back into the playoff conversation there again, at least one more time.
the thing you have to have, and this is what Vince Young had, and he had it in a big quantity, is you have to have a coach you have to have a quarterback that can overcome a bad play call or a bad situation. And Vince Young could. He did it with his legs. I'll say this for Quinn Ewers, and I'm not even giving Arch Manning any play. He's not their starter. I don't care what anybody says.
No, he's not a starter, but he's not bad
yet.
for a
Well, he's
sophomore.
great for a backup.
Or freshman.
Sure. But the thing Ewers showed me against a pretty salty Michigan defense was that he can create out of the pocket and not just like, I mean, Baker Mayfield had this. It's the ability to find the guy who's open even after you've shuffled your feet, you've broke out of the pocket. I mean, even Kyler Murray, I did not think had the ability that Baker had to find that guy that's really going to turn a quick out into a check down basically into a big chunk play. And it looks like Ewers has that. This
all-time in offense,
had it in the past. Huh?
This is his third year in the offense.
Yeah.
So he's he knows it like the back of his hand. And that was the advantage that Oklahoma had with Baker. I mean, he had a coach on the field basically. He knew every single thing that was going to happen on every single play that was called.
Next year will be Arch's third year in that offense too.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he'll be a sophomore.
And I get it. He's good, but honestly, I mean, everybody was jumping out over their skis when he lit up UTSA. Well, you know who else lit up UTSA?
Texas State.
So, I mean, you got to look at it perspective. But still, you ask the kid to go out there and do something, and he did it. So, but Texas is back. You can't deny that they're not. They are.
I don't give them that right now.
Wow.
I just don't.
You can say they're back, but you can also be critical of how long the shelf life of their backness is.
Well, that's
if they're back like they were with Mac, where it was 4 or 5 years, and then you want that decade of top 5, right?
Yeah.
And that's
they're headed in that direction. They're headed there. Fact.
I mean, they almost had it with Mac. I mean, they were really good for that decade, but they had their lapses where they would lose to Cal before the Red River game.
What if they reel off 4 out of the next 8 SEC conference championships? Is that back enough for you?
Well, yeah.
This will be after.
But now
Jesus
we're talking.
Back,
you're
right?
talking 4 of the next 8. Like that's still 8 years down the road, and they've been consistently
you
up.
Got to start being back somewhere.
But you also have to worry about the fact that they're pretty much crowning Texas as the SEC champs already, with teams like Georgia and Alabama kicking around.
Guys, we're going. Look, they got to go through this grind.
How do I end up in this position? How do I end up in this position where I'm arguing for Texas?
Hyperbole has never jumped up bit Texas in the ass before, has it?
All right.
Never, right?
Well, revisiting with Cory Hogue, 1/3 of the former Unholy Triumvirate. And if you're unfamiliar, the three of us used to be live on the airwaves on Sports Talk 1230 out of Seymour, covering Wichita Falls and the surrounding Texoma area. Cory's still down in that area and also working for Dave Campbell's Texas Football and doing work for the Times Record News as well. Cory,
oh dear,
what?
Oh, nothing.
Midwestern State in Wichita Falls. I see you cover some of the things, some of the games for them as well. D2 football, I've kind of embraced it since I've been in Western Oklahoma, since we have Southwestern Oklahoma State out here and the Great American Conference. I wish SWASU could jump back into the Lone Star myself.
They'd probably take them. Hey, by the way, Mets win. Mets rip out the heart of the Brewers and pull off a 4-2 win.
Meet the Mets.
Let's go Mets.
But
back to D2. Yes, look, the Lone Star Conference right now is down. They're down. They're the largest conference, but the football is not at the level that we had come to expect, especially when Tarleton and Commerce was in there. Adding those teams from the Northwest, 2 of them stayed, Western Oregon and Central Washington, and now you've got a real chance this year that the winner of the Lone Star Conference resides in Central Washington.
Oh, wow.
Right? Yeah, then Ellensburg, Washington is the
So
location.
I won't bag on the ACC anymore.
Oh my goodness!
You have a conference right now that goes from Ellensburg, Washington to Kingsville, Texas.
And you have 90% of the teams that are FCS in Texas that are exploring the option to jump to FBS. So what's going to happen with these other teams? Are they just going to fall in to fill that void?
I will say this. In the last round of realignment, where we got the jump from Tarleton to the WAC and Commerce to the Southland, there were schools like Angelo State and Midwestern State that were discussed and were wanted. I could tell you that MSU wouldn't even give time of day to most conference commissioners for some strange reason. And then Angelo State and I also think part of the reason is the Texas Tech system. They don't get the backing from the system to do that. And I get it, right? Like it's an investment in your future. But at the same time, you've got Tarleton on ESPN2 this year against McNeese. You've got, and then they go around and they're playing like Duke, Kansas, Kentucky in basketball. Commerce is going to play UConn men in basketball. They've got Oklahoma softball coming to Commerce flipping Texas for a fall series, right? Like, but those are the things. And could that happen here in Wichita Falls? Sure. But we don't have leaders that can think that far ahead for it. So,
well, and it is tough. I mean, I didn't realize until I got wind of all the things that go into the SWOSU athletic auction, how much they have to rely on things like that for budgetary reasons in the D2 level. I mean, it's tough. And with inflation under Biden being what it, no, I'm joking.
No,
what are we doing?
Chuck, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about it in the real terms and not the whatever terms you want to start throwing out there.
It was just
but no, in real terms, these D1 teams, right? I told you they get on a private jet and they fly 3, 4, 5 hours, right? D2 teams, to get from Texas to Central Washington, they fly. But they don't get private jets. No. They're flying commercial airlines. There was one last year that luggage got lost, right? Like it is ridiculous.
So do they have to fly out of DFW or Will Rogers?
Yeah, they fly out of DFW. Oh, here's another one. You want to know something else about the life of a D2 athlete? Central Washington, when they played in Midland last year against UT Permian Basin, they flew to DFW and drove to Midland. And then when the game was over, they drove to DFW and flew back home.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
I mean, hey, you got to love the game, I guess, but
it's rough at that level. People don't understand what those athletes go through. They don't get near the nutrition nor the rest, nor study time that the D1 athletes get.
Well, and that's one thing about SWOSU is like, you know, I did a SWOSU soccer playoff game, and they only have women's soccer, but I did a game for them on the play-by-play, and they basically, you know, I think their star forward had to finish a nursing final before she could get down and get to this conference championship game. And it's like, you know, they're not taking, I mean, it's any college, but a lot of these kids that play at SWOSU are like nursing, physical therapy, pharmacy majors, you know, I mean.
Well, they have to be because they got to have a real job when they get done.
Yeah, exactly. But I have been astounded. Well, after listening to you, Cory, I'm going to pray that SWOSU stays in the Great American Conference. The worst travel, I think, is it Monticello, Arkansas, I think.
Yeah, listen, even before Simon Fraser quit football, they had a conference that went from Canada to Kingsville.
Oh my gosh.
Good Lord.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's stupid. And then you think about that too, Kingsville. The MSU is going to Kingsville this weekend. That right there is what a good 8-9 hour drive from Wichita Falls.
Where is Kingsfield? Is that
near Corpus?
Oh, that's down. Yeah, that's down there south of Corpus, isn't it?
It's right there near Corpus,
King Ranch. Yeah.
Dan Narva's chiming in and said Ferris State flew Allegiant Airlines last week to Springfield, Mass, which is just Oh my goodness!
So if you're a defensive lineman, I mean, for Ferris State, you're sitting next to some dude in a sleeveless and jorts, talking about how he's going to show up on January 6th.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on.
No,
hold on.
no.
Oh, first off, a former Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year was talking talking to a 6-man Player of the Year 3-time on Twitter. And in his bio talks about how he was sentenced for J6. So there is that, right?
Wow. Well, there was a pretty much a stereotype, and cops aren't supposed to stereotype, but if I saw some dude in a sleeveless tee and jorts, with a bunch of tats, I pretty much assumed this is before January 6th, but I pretty much assumed he would probably join in on something like that especially if they were flying Spirit or Allegiant. So, anyways,
well, also think of it this way: like you get on there, and they let's say they let the team board first, which they probably do, right? You get on there and realize that you're sitting in between like 2 offensive or defensive linemen.
Oh yeah.
That's got to be great.
What was that line from Animal House? Do you mind if we dance with your dates?
Rip the table out of the ground.
You get Jeremy in there, and he's trying to muscle them out of the way.
Oh yeah. Jeremy.
Listen, as somebody who has witnessed the clientele of Allegiant Airlines.
Oh yeah.
It is just it is the dregs of society.
I remember one night when I worked at the airport, and Jeremy, you might have already gone home, but I was standing there in the terminal, and I looked out on the tarmac, and I don't know if we should name the airline, but they start with an F, and they fly in the Rocky Mountain areas. And this young lady who worked for them as a contract employee, she worked the ticket counter, she worked the gate. And then she helped load a few bags up into baggage, and then she drove the tug that pushed the plane out to the runway. And it was
That's
the Wichita Falls Airport. You just described this airport.
You just described both of their operations, though. Both airlines we're talking about.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you go to work for them as a contract employee, but you're multitasking all day. So, Steve Anderson checks in, says that means we'll have an all outdoor World Series. So, who was the last dome team? Was that?
Must have been the Brewers.
Brewers playing a dome?
I
Yes.
thought they played in a retractable. Well, it was retractable.
Oh, okay.
It's retractable, but come on.
Oh, mandatory outdoor World Series. Yeah, and it's going to be, the Dodgers and Yankees. It's already
might have been Cubs and that unnamed team from Cleveland.
It's already rigged.
Yeah,
it's already rigged.
It's too big to rig. All right.
Hey, what about Shohei? Well, that dude, man, like I used to love watching Trout because he was the best player. Now Shohei's like, Trout, he's a little scrub. This dude's hitting 480-foot bombs.
Well, because he plays for the Dodgers and Trout doesn't play.
Well, remember when there used to be a player named Albert Pujols.
Yeah, that guy was pretty good.
He did some amazing stuff in the Midwest, and then
King Griffey Jr.
Did he steal 50 bases?
No, but I'm just saying, Orange County is the place where baseball players go to die. I mean, seriously.
Well, Albert Pujols was 40 years old when he signed that 10-year contract with the Angels.
He's going to the American League. He should have still had some pop,
We all knew he was done when he signed that. First off, the way you knew he was done is when they were questioning if he was 10 years older than his birth certificate says, right?
Oh, Corey, we talked about this, man. Shohei, he may be the best one we've seen.
Yeah, he's got to be. He's got to be the best player ever.
He could be a dominant pitcher if that's all he did. He's the best hitter we've seen. Yes,
when he comes back pitching, like this dude could throw. He could win Cy Young and the freaking Triple Crown. Just whatever, right? Like
and somebody had the audacity to say, "Well, he doesn't play the field."
So what?
Really?
I don't need him to.
You don't need it to.
But the Dodgers
now, and if he pitches every 5th day, no one else does that.
The Dodgers,
he's the most unique player.
Their fortunes really turn. I mean, he's a great addition, but I mean, their fortunes turned so well when Mookie Betts came there. You know, when they got Mookie Betts, that they became a whole different franchise in my eyes. But no, baseball is you know, Rangers coming off of a World Series last year, and then in this region, baseball is really, if with the Royals going to the next level, next round. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, how about that? I'll be in the Kansas City area next 2 weeks from now.
You gonna go by and see Bobby Witt Jr.?
Go see some family.
Should have came to Norman, kid.
Sure.
But, it would have done him so much better if he had gone to college, you know?
Yeah, I'm sure that $1.5 million he got to sign with the Royals, he could have recouped that in NIL funds and college baseball.
Just like Dad did, play in Norman.
That's right.
And I loved his dad as a pitcher, by the way. Cory, last question about the realignment. We're sitting here watching UTEP, and their receivers just cannot hold on to a pass.
Well, it helps when you don't get, targeted.
That I-25 corridor and UTEP, New Mexico State, and New Mexico, they're kind of being included, but do you feel like, I mean, I guess the verdict's still out on New Mexico State, but I mean, are they kind of afterthoughts in some of those leagues? Because, I mean, UNLV's got it rolling right now. I mean, there's a lot of more activity. They've got to up the quality of their play.
They're not afterthoughts, right? In fact, New Mexico State was a team that was challenging for the Conference USA title last year.
True.
But then they got rid of Jerry Kill.
Yeah.
Well, look, they've had a lot. There's been a way too much bad press. There was a complete clean out. We had guns and basketball games and all this stuff. But when it comes to like New Mexico State, their hopes of getting up to another conference, like say the Mountain West Conference, it's not going to happen because New Mexico will not allow them to be in the same conference.
Really?
They are the ones blocking it. It is all otherwise. New Mexico State would have been in the Mountain West years ago.
We saw that for years. We saw that for years here in Oklahoma too, with Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm.
And then
look,
Texas
Aggies had to go with Southeastern Conference to get out from under the thumb of Texas.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And, and that was really in the big picture what was the demise of the Longhorn Network when you look at it for real. But, hey, guys, we mentioned this off the air. This may be the greatest weekend in college football history for uniforms. I mean, El Paso's got the El Chuco unis with the orange and white. Western Kentucky's going to go with the weird Hilltopper eyes.
I love the Hilltopper, man. That's great.
Look at the Falcons' red helmet.
Oh, those are beautiful.
Yeah.
Those are beautiful, Cory.
And Sam Houston, that's an old helmet, too, from like the 50s with the Bearcats script on it.
Florida International with the Vice City unis with the pastel and stuff from the.
You want a stat on that?
Go ahead.
They're playing Sam Houston for their Vice night this year.
Oh.
And every year, or all their Vice nights to this point have been against Texas teams. And when they play Texas teams on Vice night, they lose.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Well, that's good to know. Well,
if you're gambling, those are the things that can sway you.
Well, maybe I could call you like before I do my college football pick 'em. That would that would be nice. I mean, this type of information would have been good for me yesterday.
Hey, look, if I put my name to calling games by the spread, for crying out loud, in the Times Record News, I'm going to put some research into it.
Shoot, yeah. Speaking of, I reached out to our old friend MJ Baird. They've got quite the podcast going on YouTube with the WFISD. Grant Freeman. I guess he got out of coaching and now he's athletic director and podcasting.
He's athletic director, and then Frank Johnson got out of coaching and went into the barbecue business. And then, what they all do is then they all gather around with MJ and they eat barbecue and they talk. Chad Johnson joins. They talk sports. It's really hard. What they've done is it's tough. They're, you got to say a prayer for them tonight.
Yeah. Thoughts and prayers for the what is it? The Free for All podcast.
They have the Free for All there. Yeah. And then Frank Johnson has his own, but a lot of those, they're always on that stuff. It's fun. Those guys have a lot of fun.
I would have thought that Frank Johnson might have gone into something to do with Pop-Tarts. That's, just the butter on a Pop-Tart quote. That was so classic.
that's probably why he's stuck with barbecue.
Yeah. Buccaneers up 24-17 on Atlanta. Atlanta is driving. They're down to the 22.
Just got a sack.
Third quarter, 7:46 left to go. UTEP still trails Sam Houston 7-0. Not much really moving in that one.
It's an ugly game. My goodness.
Is.
See, I picked I said Sam Houston would win that one like probably 24-17. And I don't even know if they'll get up to that kind of thing today. This has been putrid looking.
Mm-hmm. Dan Narva checks in when we were talking about baseball. He said it's the Angels' curse. Is that do you think that's a Gene Autry thing, that curse stemming back to that? Or Steve Anderson says at one the Angels at one time the Angels had Shohei, Trout, Pujols, and Josh Hamilton. Whoa!
And they couldn't win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Steve,
I don't think Hamilton and Shohei overlapped.
No, well, I don't think Hamilton was worth a darn by that point either.
No.
Yeah. He kind of had his heyday with the Rangers and was just not much.
He had his
after
heyday
that.
with cocaine. That's what cost him.
I think it was actually heroin, Corey, but okay.
It was a lot of drugs.
Yeah, he had demons.
Bless his heart. Hope he's doing well. Royals are set up for a 5-game series, better than anyone with their rotation. Yeah. I mean, what was it, 2015 that they won the series against the Mets?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'll say this, defense, the Mets had no shot in that one with as bad as their defense was. That was just a debacle defensively for them. Guys.
It was in 86 too.
Yeah. Yeah. 86. Yeah.
For the Red Sox.
Some passings this week. Dikembe Mutombo, NBA Hall of Famer, and kind of not much play on him because of the passing of Pete Rose. Not a Hall of Famer, but Cory Hogue, give me your take on Pete Rose and his legacy and what you think would be proper course.
That don't even matter at all to me. Like, the dude was a great player. He was a good manager. He was not good with his gambling, and that ended up costing him reputation, which lasted all the way through his death. Whatever they do, they do. I mean, that stuff doesn't bother me at all. Dikembe, it's sad. He was still young. I think he was in his like 64, 58. Yeah, the dude, and he had brain cancer, I think it was. So tough to hear, but unfortunately, that's what happens in life.
Yeah, it's tough, and I'll tell you something, guys. And Jeremy, I'll get from you here in just a second. But
Troy is downing the ball to take a 38-17 defeat.
What? They're taking knees?
They're in the non-victory formation.
What was the
losing
spread,
team took a knee. It was 13.5, 14 was the
That's
spread.
called let's just get on the plane. Or do they fly? Is that a bus?
No, they're home.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They're home. They're in the victory formation,
They
taking a knee in a loss.
Bad news. Neil Brown, please come back.
Pathetic.
So, yeah, Jeremy, you and I have talked a little bit about Pete Rose. I can remember a guy back in the 90s on One-on-One Sports Talk overnights, Bob Kemp. That was a restricted topic. He would not talk Pete Rose back in the 90s. And we've talked a little bit about it, but, I get the whole, everybody says, put him in the Hall of Fame for what he did on the field. But I mean, you have a group of, you have a sport, and their whole they've had militant views on gambling.
Yeah.
Since 1918. And
they also have unwritten rules too, though. Like, what the hell are we doing?
So many unwritten rules. You don't even know what they all are.
No,
every time something
write
happens, there's an unwritten rule about
that's
that.
unwritten.
For God's sake. No, but that's a written rule. In every clubhouse, in every major league ballpark, there is a sign that says "Do not bet on baseball."
Yeah,
and he broke that rule.
Yeah,
and he bet on his own team. And my dad loved Pete Rose, and that's he should be in the Hall of Fame. Will he? No, I don't think so. Yeah. But if he goes in, then I guess that will open the floodgates of all these other guys that were involved in other extracurriculars like McGuire, Sosa, Bonds. Bonds was a Hall of Famer before he ever stuck a needle in his rear end.
He really was. And, just seeing that enormous head of his just was astounding.
Ridiculous.
And Corey,
dude.
I retweeted a deal that they showed, and it is a cool clip because it's Pete Rose on. What was that, Jeremy?
It was on the Baseball Network,
MLB Network,
and they were talking hitting with Pete Rose.
Yeah,
and what his approach was.
And he's standing there with a bat on his shoulder, and he could just swing it so easily, Corey. And A-Rod is standing there right in front of him. I just thought one swing and everything would have been forgiven. Just take his head off.
It reminds me when I was young, like 13, 14 years old, I went to a baseball camp up in Chandler, Oklahoma.
Oh, I've been there.
That camp was so much fun, but they showed us an old Ted Williams hitting video, and the way he described hitting was like listening to a scientist.
Yep.
Yeah. Only Tony Gwynn could replicate that, really.
If Tony Gwynn could have played for how many seasons did Rose play? 23, 24 seasons?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
maybe he could have got close.
Philadelphia days were at the very tail end of his.
Oh, he was.
And don't forget his Montreal
he was old when
days.
I remember him.
Yeah,
he was also Montreal, and then he came back to Cincinnati to break the record.
He was Charlie Hustle, and when he broke that record, it took him a half hour to get to first base.
Yeah, well, Charlie Hustle was not a. The nickname was a dig because guys didn't like him because he was showing everybody up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Godspeed, rest in peace. Also, John Amos from the comedy series Good Times and also Coming to America passed away this week. And actually,
that's a big
take that back. He passed away 45 days ago. They just released it this week.
Yeah.
Kind of odd.
Oh, my God. Baker's running dudes over.
Baker Mayfield just shucked like 3 Falcons. What's happening?
He's
my quarterback, Corey.
He's visualizing Tom Brady on each one of their helmets. So,
he gets up.
How about that?
Yeah. And guys, I'll say this, and we'll kind of transition to broadcasting here. I've never felt sorry for a Kane in my life, but Greg Olson really got the shaft by Fox.
He's going to land on his feet. He is going to get. Who is this? Collinsworth. Is probably going to step down, and he's going to end up on Sunday night.
Like, that would be pretty nice.
It would be pretty nice.
I thought Greg Olson, so
the
fact he got relegated is fine with me.
See, I'm not a fan of him, but when I look back and now I listen to Tom Brady's call, Greg Olson was money, dude.
Tom's learned. First off, they should have put Tom in a darn booth and had him actually call games and work on it before he got out there.
That's what they did
Corey,
with Romo.
But you know what the deal with Tom is? He's a part owner of the Raiders, which means he can't participate in any of the production meetings. He can't visit facilities. He can't do any of that stuff. He's on the outside trying to learn all this stuff, and then he goes on the air.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't know anything about these, and then they're not going to tell him.
No. Because it's a conflict of interest. It's insanity.
That's stupid on CBS's part or Fox's part.
Fox, yeah. Dan Narva, Rose is a two-sided coin, unforgettable for anyone of my age. Well, Dan, you're 74, so I mean, just kidding.
Dan is just a time traveler.
He's Methuselah. Unforgettable for anyone of my age. Agreeing with Jeremy, I'd never want the Juicers in the Hall of Fame. I'm there too. Steve Anderson, Pete Rose kind of saved my life as a kid. Too long of a story to tell. The gambling disappoints me, but I do hope a little focus gets returned to his on-field play. It was special. It was. And the Big Red Machine and Sam Houston just scores to make it 14.
Yes, they did.
The Big Red Machine is truly one of those.
Who was that catcher he ran over in the All-Star game? Tell it to that guy.
Yeah. Gary Carter put out a tribute to him from their Montreal days.
The kid, man.
Yeah. So
he was a hell of a player.
All right, guys, college football tomorrow night, Friday night action. It's Big Ten after dark. It's as Michigan State Sparty travels to Eugene to take on the Ducks. The Ducks are a 23.5-point favorite. I probably like Oregon to go ahead and handle that.
I'm with you on that. I don't think Michigan's going to put up much of a fight, but we'll see. Oregon will put up a ton of yards and not score a ton of points, so it could get rough.
Corey, if you have disclosure issues where you don't want to reveal picks for some reason, you feel free to just say abstain.
Do we need to pay for the service to get the
No, I don't care.
Go ahead, Corey.
No, I did. Look, Michigan State, they're so bad. The question is, will they be bad enough to get beat by that much? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Ohio State just took them to the doghouse. So if they have any pride, they'll come back. But that's hard to do when you're playing in Oregon.
Yeah. 25th ranked UNLV, a 6.5 point favorite over Syracuse in Vegas, and they've got some sort of eating competition. I forget what it was they're eating, but I don't know if it's halftime or pregame or whatever. But the running Rebs are clicking on all cylinders. But Syracuse pretty tough. I might go with the Orangemen to cover the 6.5.
Oh, Baker Mayfield just tore his ACL.
What?
Yeah, he got tackled awkwardly and got bent over backwards.
Oh, okay. No way.
That's a quick diagnosis, doctor.
Yeah, I was gonna say
might be an MCL. I don't know. It's something in the knee.
Okay.
They're not even touching it, so
he's going out of the game. You're saying?
Well, he's probably. It was third down. He got sacked. He got tackled awkwardly. Got bent over backwards. So.
Yeah. Corey, keep us updated on the Bearcats. I'm going to switch back over to the. So I would probably, for some reason, I just feel like Syracuse kind of has a bounce back, and just
think UNLV without Sluka is not going to be able to handle it.
I don't know. I mean, Q's got back on track last week with the Holy Cross victory, but
they played Holy Cross, really?
Yeah.
Was Gordy Lockbaum on the field?
If you're getting on track by playing Holy Cross, you got problems.
Buddy, I mean, a win's a win. So,
wow.
I don't know.
Now you sound like a coach. Every win is hard.
That's right. Every win is difficult.
Here's the thing,
Thank
guys.
you, Nick Saban.
This quarterback that took over for the transfer, I mean, there's going to be more tape on him this week, so the Orange can kind of plan a little better, but we'll see.
Honestly, I can't tell you what the Orange are. I have no idea if they're good or bad this year. I don't know much about UNLV outside the fact that the quarterback made national news, and then his agent got on the phone with ESPN national guys to get some puff stories put out about the program the other day that you probably read, or you may have read, and that's about all I know about UNLV. Nothing on field.
Well, Syracuse did get a week 2 win over Georgia Tech, 31-28, and then they fell to Stanford. So,
how good is Georgia Tech?
Well, they beat Florida State.
We know Stanford's not.
They were a playoff team.
Oh hell! I forgot Kyle McCord is the quarterback of Syracuse. Wow, look at that. Yeah. Hey, who's the coach of Syracuse now? It's not Dino Babers, right?
No.
That's where I'm at. I don't even know.
How many of these quarterbacks should be like having a job on Mondays, honestly.
Yeah. Houston and
McCord
TCU
couldn't cut it with all those. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
McCord couldn't cut it with all those weapons he had at the shoe there in Ohio State. I don't know what he's doing here.
Yeah, and who's the kid from Skylar Thompson up there balling?
No, Will Howard. Skylar Thompson.
Yeah, Skylar Thompson.
He's with Miami, and he's one of the many hurt quarterbacks for the Dolphins.
Who's the K-State quarterback that's the offensive coordinator at A&M?
It's not Skylar Thompson.
No, it was it Colin
Klein.
Yeah, Colin Klein. Okay.
Yeah.
Big 12 action tomorrow night. 1-4 Houston takes on 3-2 TCU at Amon G. Carter Field. TCU is a 16.5 point favorite. I'm probably Horned Frogs all day if Sonny doesn't get kicked out.
Texas Christian even more if he gets kicked out.
Yeah, book it, man. Houston is such a freaking dumpster fire. Willie Fritz, I don't even like it was he was mucking it up on purpose. I don't even think he's enjoying that anymore. Like it's just horrible.
Okay, so Saturday action in the Big 12. Oklahoma State, obviously Oklahoma and Texas are off this week, both on byes, preparing for the Red River Shootout. OSU is a 3-point
Thank you for saying
favorite.
it right.
Yeah. OSU is a 3-point favorite at Boone Pickens over West Virginia. Cory, you've told me that 3 points, that is a bad roll up.
Yeah. No one's talking to him. No one's anywhere around him on the sideline, so he's probably okay.
And he's my fantasy quarterback, so now I got to go with Minshew. OSU is a 3-point favorite over West Virginia at Boone Pickens Stadium. Cory, you told me years ago when we were on this show that 3 points you automatically get 3 points just being at home. So that means Vegas thinks this is a pick 'em.
Yeah, that when I see a line 3 points or less, I always go with who I think is going to win the game.
Yeah, Texas Tech. Oh, go ahead, Jeremy.
No, go ahead.
No,
I was just motioning at the TV.
Okay. Texas Tech travels to Tucson to take on the Wildcats and that high-powered Arizona offense. After a beatdown in Manhattan, or
Sam Houston fumbled in the end zone. Miners recover.
And
this ugly game just got even uglier.
It's been odd. Did you see? I guess you saw the fair catch punt that was kind of botched or something.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah. Go FBS. Arizona coming off of a big win over Utah last week could be a potential letdown against Texas Tech. I don't know. It's funny, Cory. We talked to Ryan Hyatt about, when was that, Jeremy? About 3 weeks ago?
It was a month ago. Yeah.
Yeah, a month ago. And it's amazing that we were talking Baron Morton when he was at Eastland back on the high school football wrap-up show on KSEY. Has he lived up to the expectations, you feel? I mean, he was like a 3-star coming out. Texas Tech picked him up. Do you think he's given them the stability they need at quarterback?
Oh, I think Barron's been fine. He was never, he is what his stats were. You could see when he played Holiday how he could pick a defense apart, and you could tell that he was FBS level. That first game of the season against Maverick McIver, you know how many Wichita Falls and Texas Tech players were on that field between the two schools there, right? Like, it's crazy. Hey, another one, Joe Castle's in Wichita Falls. He's another one of those quarterbacks that reminds me of Baron Morton in high school. He may even be actually a little bit better. He is as good as it gets. So that'll be a name to watch.
I keep on looking at stats for City View to see if Gage Hogue is like registering tackles yet or not.
Oh, Gabe is a second grader at Wichita Christian.
Okay.
He has played baseball. We played some coach pitch last year. He was playing soccer. We kind of quit the soccer, but yeah, no, sports all the time. That boy is so spoiled, man.
Does he have a huddle yet?
Do what?
Does he have a huddle yet?
No.
Get that kid a huddle. All right, so really that's the only Big 12 action slated for Saturday. That's on my favorites, but I'll be interested. I'll give you 3 games that interest me this week, fellas, and then I'll let you do it also. UCLA traveling to Happy Valley, and then SMU traveling to Louisville, and then obviously the big game to me in the SEC is Missouri and Texas A&M.
Okay, let's see. Hardin Simmons and Endicott, number 6 and number 7 in Division III football in Abilene Saturday, followed by number 7 Central Arkansas against number 16 Abilene Christian in Abilene on Saturday. And then,
well, since you did that, Cory, I'm going to throw in that defending D2 national champion Harding is coming to Weatherford this Saturday to take on SWASU.
There you go. See, there's one. You got to give these. When you ask me. See, this is what I'll tell you. Like I got rid of all the other stuff. When you ask me, I have no idea what's going on nationally. I can give you the games that I cover.
Well, let's talk, Jeremy. Let's talk about the A&M and Missouri game. To me, this is gonna determine whether Drinkwitz has really got a squad. I mean, we know the Luther Burden kid is really good, but everything else is subject to differing opinions because they could go to College Station and get waxed, right?
They have been. You look at they didn't play well against BC. They damn near lost to Vandy.
Yeah.
They haven't played well again. They haven't played well since. Have they played well this year? I mean, they beat Murray State 51-0. Is that?
Yeah.
Is that?
They have struggled more than Ole Miss, and we saw what happened to Ole Miss against Kentucky.
What about A&M though?
They're the same. I don't see them. I think they're both two very mid football teams. They're not. Nothing they do is great or sticks out at you.
Well, obviously, Vegas kind of thought the same, fellas, because A&M's a 2.5-point favorite. Over/under is 48.5. Is that 48 and a hook, guys? Seems like that could be a candidate for bad beats.
I mean, they beat Arkansas and they beat Bowling Green. I didn't think Arkansas was that bad, but apparently they are. They're in this group of three here.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sorry, group of four. Florida. Throw them in there.
Yeah, listen, that just tells you it's going to be some ugly football they're expecting from two teams that are inconsistent. That's what Vegas is telling you to watch for. Hey, it's like watching Sam Houston UTEP right now, just ugly and mucking it up.
Like watching Oklahoma's offense.
Yeah. Let's see, who was it? Well, Dan Narva keeps retracting comments. You can't be doing that, Dan. We can't live like that.
Hey, I think
on about the muff punt being that's a dollar on the that's a dollar segment. So, anyways, NFL big game in Pittsburgh on Sundays. The Cowboys travel to take on the Steelers. I guess Justin Fields is still designated the starter, even though his coach won't name him QB1.
He better leave his butt back there. He keeps winning.
Yeah. He's not going to move him. Good Lord.
He better
Tomlin
not.
just
Tomlin's
likes
a
to
smart
play
guy.
games.
He does. And Justin Fields is playing fine, and Russell Wilson is not. He's not that guy he was in Seattle. He doesn't have that running game to lean on, and that great defense he had in his early days. He's just not that. He's never been that guy since the first few years in Seattle when they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But see, I'm not sure. Like, the Cowboys are talented. They can't stop the run. I don't know if the Steelers have enough of a running game, but I think I did pick them this week to cover just because, good God, the Cowboys are.
It just kind of seems like Zimmer's defense is just taking a huge step back from what Quinn was doing there.
Well, and then look at the injuries. Parsons is out, and the DT went out the other day. What, Lawrence or
Yep. Oh.
You lose Lawrence
Falcons.
and you lose Parsons. You didn't just lose two starters.
No,
you lost two of the
really
best
good
players at their
Yes.
positions in the NFL. It's going to be hard to make up for that.
Well, guys, are you going to get up at 8:30 a.m. to watch the Jets and Vikings in London?
I probably will.
You'll be up anyway.
Because I'm a psycho.
I will probably be woken up about 8 o'clock by the puppy. So.
Oh, you got a pup, huh?
You got a puppy?
I have a service dog now.
Okay, good.
I was able. It was a 2-year process to get through all this waiting period and everything else. But I have a Lab Golden Cross. Her name is Sunshine, and boy, that's apropos for her personality.
Awesome.
She's just so
Same.
awesome. But she gets me out of bed.
Kudos to you, Cory, for going through the process and doing it the right way, because I know Jeremy can say this. There's so many buttholes out there that just have a dog, and I'm all for dog ownership, but they just put a little little Velcro on them and say service dog or whatever. And
I run through that too, and trust me, I carry a lot of times like a little. It's not pepper spray, but it works the same for dogs. It's like a puff of air, because you will find you go to the mall and I'll have. This dog is trained, right? Like she turns on lights in the house.
Wow.
This dog brushes her teeth every day. Right?
Wow.
This ain't
dog.
just a normal
Yeah,
dog.
right?
And I had to go through a week of training to learn how to continue to train her on things here.
Oh, well, that's awesome. I'm glad you got that. And I don't know if we said it enough, when we were doing the show, but thank you for your service over in the Middle East. And
I'd do it again, especially if I get this puppy.
Yeah, really.
Oh, wow.
She like Gabe pretty well also.
Oh my god! Oh yeah, yeah. No, she fits perfectly in. She's a little bit bougie. She's got a bit of an attitude.
You talk about two dogs that have amazing personalities, and
I'm telling you, she fits
that's
right into this
awesome.
family.
Yeah. Hey, last game, guys, and we'll go over this. I'm interested in the Bills traveling to Houston, and honestly, I mean, this Texas team is 3-1, and they've showed out. They kind of, I mean, they probably should have played a little better against Jacksonville last week. But I mean, is this a game where the Bills are coming in as a slight favorite? Is this a game where Houston kind of gets something back from what they had previously?
Corey?
Oh, the Bills are going to come in angry.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the one thing that gives me pause. I know the Texans are going to be angry. They got blown out by the Vikings, but I think if I had to trust a team this weekend in that, I would trust the Bills to probably win by a couple of scores.
Yeah, I trust the Bills to win by a couple of scores only because it's week 4, 5, 4, week 4, week 5,
4,
whatever.
No.
It's not a week that matters, and that's why I trust the Bills.
Yeah.
If it was, divisional round of the playoffs, no, Houston.
They're playing Mahomes.
Yeah, but I mean, Buffalo is notorious for peaking super early and just being a juggernaut for about half a season and then trend down.
And since you brought it up, Jeremy, and you're a Chiefs fan, Monday Night Football, the Chiefs host the Saints, who are looking to get back on the winning track somehow, some way. Man, the weaponry is depleted in KC, to say the least. Rashee Rice out, and then I guess Hollywood Brown is out for the season as well.
He is, but yes, he is out for the season.
Pacheco. I mean, is it if they even make the Super Bowl this season,
it's super hard to.
He's the GOAT, right?
Yeah, well, it's super hard to repeat. They did that.
Well, sure.
It's next to impossible to three-peat. Listen, it's a 5.5 point spread. I think Kansas City will win, but put all your money on New Orleans because they'll win by 2 points, a field goal. Because Mahomes is against the spread if it's over 3 points, I think has a losing record. Corey, you can back me up on this. I think less than 5 points, he's 28-5 or 25-8 in his career, but under anything over that, he has a losing record. It's pretty weird.
Well, like I was saying earlier with Baker, you can build around a guy like Baker because he is a quarterback capable of leading you. Mahomes is one of those rarities that you don't have to build around him. He makes them better. And so they still have Xavier Worthy.
Yes, they do.
They have some weapons still.
Travis Kelce's big, fat, out of shape ass out there.
Hey,
he's my type.
You leave him alone, or he'll end up on another love song.
Oh, God, stop it! I would prefer that. Hey, Baker's running for a first down.
I was going to say
Baker just had like a 20-yard run, guys.
Yeah,
I think he's okay.
Busted
he
out.
didn't tear his ACL.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, he went
Dr.
down
Schroeder.
when he came up. Hey, shut up.
That dude diagnosed him right there.
Yeah. All right. So, final words, guys. Corey, talk about your weekend.
I am headed to Abilene Saturday, 1 and 3 o'clock.
Where is
games.
Endicott, by the way?
Endicott's in Massachusetts. They are the goals.
So maybe MJ Baird could make the trip with you. He probably goes to that school.
Yeah, he might.
Quinnipiac probably plays them.
Stop it. Oh boy, Sunday will be writing a feature story while watching the NFL and kicking it off like every day.
And like you mentioned, TexasFootball.com. That's Dave Campbell's Texas Football. That's where you can find Cory Hogue and all of his content. I missed the Lone Star Sports Daily, honestly. That was a fun website. Plenty of lower level football news and stuff and things like that. But now you get to see it in Dave Campbell's Texas football. But
it wasn't as much fun because it was a ton of work, and now I get paid more. So
that's right. That's exactly.
I'll accept.
That's kind of why I took the full-time job out here in Weatherford doing radio. It's like, wow, I'm getting paid, but
money's nice. I like money.
Even that became like, oh, really? I got to be there at 6 a.m. after I called a game up, got home from a game at midnight. No, thanks.
No, those are the things. Like, hey, I'll be there Saturday 1 in Abilene. I'll be in Abilene from 11. Probably get home about 11 or 12 that night. Wake up Sunday and write a feature story. Monday, it just doesn't stop this time of year. But what you got, I have to embrace that grind and realize that at the end of the day, they pay me to do this stuff. So
and you probably got basketball previews coming up also real quick.
No more basketball coverage.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
What?
They took away basketball coverage at Dave Campbell's. So I will probably be helping out with home games with the SID if he needs it. But
okay.
No, I am really 100% right now non-FBS football nonstop.
Outstanding. Well,
so
we sure are proud of you, buddy.
Hey, I thank you guys. Appreciate you. It was fun. Those were fun days back then, and
they were.
I know. I wouldn't be near as good talking about the national stuff anymore because I'm just so honed in.
You're pretty dialed in, aren't you?
We can tell by your picks. You picked a D3 Texas college game as your game of the week to watch.
Coming out tomorrow morning, I broke down.
What's he talking about?
This is crazy because I tomorrow morning coming out, I broke down I pulled every roster of every Texas non-FBS team. I got 33 of the 35, and I went through and I guided them all out by cities, states, high schools. There's 800 and whatever high schools in Texas represented in non-FBS football on rosters. It's insane. That comes out tomorrow morning.
Oh, wow. Well, and get on there and subscribe to Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Get all of Cory's content as well. Jeremy, your weekend on the bye week, anything in particular?
Going to go get an oil change tomorrow. Maybe hit Sam's.
Talking about scheduling an oil change.
I got a schedule for tomorrow, and then I'm going to come home and watch football in the evening and watch football Saturday, and then we'll see what happens there. It's going to be a football weekend.
Yeah,
lovely.
And then, prep for Red River Shootout coming up in Dallas on the up next after this weekend. So, listen, we'll go ahead and get on out of here, guys. But thank you, Dan Narva, Steve Anderson, for checking in. Also, Cash Johnson and anybody else that tuned in. I saw that we did have viewers. Our first live stream on YouTube. I like it. If we can just get everybody kind of transitioned back from the Facebook page over to the YouTube page, that will probably work out great. But anyways, I tell you, for a Thursday night visiting with my friend Jeremy Schroeder and our friend Cory Hogue, the reunion of the Unholy Triumvirate here on Law Dog Sports, the Weekend Big Show, is just so much fun. And Cory, like I said, we lost Mark Olibaugh, our station owner down in Seymour, back in February of 2023. And not long after that, lost my friend who owned the lodge there in front of the station. He passed away as well. But I haven't been back down to Texoma in a while. I need to get down there, see you and MJ and my friend Big Jim Russell there at KLUR. But it was good times. I always enjoyed getting to get down there, and you and I broke bread once down there. And, I look back and I think about Jeremy and I doing this podcast. And then all of a sudden, as we're just, struggling to get through the shutdown, and then also trying to get, something going, because we did have a college football season after in 2020. It was shortened. It was kind of odd, but you jumped in there, and you were just so steady to be on the show, so excited and so willing to share information and viewpoint. It really made that program great. I wish we would have had a stronger signal that got into Wichita Falls a little better at the time. We could have marketed it a little more, but we did what we could. But I still think that's probably up until the Free for All podcast, we were probably the only outlet to talk Wichita Falls and Texoma sports and regional sports in the Wichita Falls market. And I take pride in that.
Yeah, no, that was fun times. And we provided a coverage that was desperately needed, and still a part of the Texas Friday Night Scoreboard show.
Yeah,
Love
show.
Those guys. Those guys
awesome.
are so awesome. Mark and Tony and oh Lord, the third
Steve.
one just do it.
Steve is on there, I believe.
Yeah, Stephen Orr.
Yeah, Stephen Orr. Yeah, Stephen.
Yeah, so those three are just tremendous, and they're great people. I actually went and did a show inside their studio one night a few years ago when I was in Lubbock on a playoff game.
Nice.
So that was a lot of fun, and a chance to actually meet them in person was great. So thankfully they still do that. But it's a shame that station is no longer. We weren't able to get it out, but we all learned a lot. We cut a lot of teeth off of that. And I don't know about Jeremy, because he has one of them real jobs all the time anyway. But for you and I, it really helped us, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it was, great fun for me, just getting to know you, getting to talk to an actual Texas fan that, is realistic, kind of grounded, realistic.
I'm over here arguing they're not back.
I know.
And we're trying to tell me they're
back. They're back.
I'm here stumping for the Longhorns, and I'm getting blowback. So, but no, you're exactly right, and and that's why I thought it was a kitschy name to call us the Unholy Triumvirate, because we're just three dudes. At the time, Cory actually had a job in media. We were just kind of freelancing it, but
we were very unholy too.
I worked in actual radio in employ, and I like this a lot better. Just saying. But I still like the play-by-play and stuff. But Dan Narva commenting, no hat tonight, Jeremy. What up?
He had to let that those locks show right there.
That's
Look
right.
at that.
The oily
I just got back from work, man. We'll see.
Hey, by the way, Steve Anderson asking about Saturday night. I'm probably going to skip this Saturday night if that's all right. There was an anniversary weekend this week for Gina and I this week. 21 years we've been married, so I think I'll try.
Congratulations!
God bless her.
God bless her in a big way.
Must be a saint.
If you knew the resounding opinion that carries, Cory, you wouldn't be surprised. I don't know, but it'd probably be a good weekend for us to take a break from the college football wrap up, as OSU will be playing that. Let's see, what time did they play that Saturday? 3 p.m. So
they're playing like 2:33.
We'll jump back in it and have people give people the opportunity to jump in and talk about the OU Texas game as well. So anyways, well, listen, Cory, thank you so much for jumping in with us. And like I said, I can't thank you enough for all that you did to help us back in the days of the KSEY Sports Talk 1230. And man, Godspeed and safe travels to you on your trips to Abilene and elsewhere in the Lone Star State. Yeah,
thank you guys. It was great to get back on here. Great to reconnect on this, and who knows, maybe somebody, Dan's probably out there going, I want him to do it again, and everybody else is like, I don't know. That's pretty unholy.
Oh, I think the clamoring for the Unholy Triumvirate would be big. I just, I understand. You're the one with a young kid, so
But I'll
tell you this:
my hours go quite late anymore.
We've kind of been doing Thursday nights because of high school football and my play-by-play duties, kind of trips on the road, kind of tying that up and stuff. But generally, we're Friday mornings. But anytime the door is open. Anytime you want to jump on, you're more than welcome. We don't want to tax you, but we definitely want to extend the invite. Anytime you want to come on, you just text me and let me know.
That's right. That could be lend some credibility to two guys. What was it? What did he say?
Yeah, two random dudes talking to the internet.
Yes.
Go do something useful. I love it. All right. He's Cory Hogue from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Follow him on Twitter and I believe Facebook as well at Cory Hogue Sports, and then also on Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Jeremy, thanks again for jumping in and appreciate you as well. And this will be a sign off for the time being for the Unholy Triumvirate. I am Chuck Ramsey, the Law Dog. This has been the Weekend Big Show. Be safe out there. Don't text and drive, and sure don't drink and drive. And we'll talk to you real soon.